We begin with the Climate Change Summit in the United Arab Emirates, where campaigners, in a startling revelation, report that the number of delegates at this year's UN climate talks connected to fossil fuel producers has quadrupled since last year. Approximately 2,400 individuals affiliated with the coal, oil and gas industries are registered for COP28, surpassing the combined total attendees from the 10 most climate vulnerable countries. The surge is attributed in part to enhanced registration procedures, requiring participants to transparently disclose their employment details. This analysis, conducted by a coalition of green groups opposing fossil fuel-linked delegates, underscores a concerning trend. COP28, the largest climate conference to date, with 97,000 attendees, now hosts 2,456 representatives linked to the fossil fuel sector, compared to 500 at COP26 and over 600 at COP27. For more on this growing concern, let's bring in Olamide Martins. He is the program manager at CAPA. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure to be here.
I mean, it's really a startling revelation when you see the spike in the number of campaigners and those who are connected to the fossil fuel industry at COP28. It's 500 at COP27 and at COP26 rather, and 600 at COP27. But now it is over 2,000. How would this influence the outcome of this conference?
Of course, to a very great extent. And we are worried about this growing influence of the fossil fuel lobbyists in climate change conversation. But then I would like to say that you don't have tobacco industries in health conferences. How come you have fossil fuel companies or industries in climate change conferences? I mean, it goes a long way to tell us that we are dealing with a people who seems to be steps ahead and who knows how to play the game. And of course, we can easily preempt the conclusion of this COP. It's going to be a COP that will return power, again, to the companies or the industries that are responsible for the emission that we continue to suffer, particularly in Africa. And it's going to further impoverish those of us who are in the frontline communities who are bearing the brunt of climate crisis that we are not responsible for.
Some have argued that they have to be in the room just to give them a better understanding of what exactly is going on. Is it their presence in the room that is the problem, or that there are no rules of engagement, as it were?
Well, both are very disturbing. You should not allow them in the room. When you decide to dine with the devil, you don't expect to get anything good in return. We are dealing with the people who are responsible for the climate crisis that we continue to face in Africa and, of course, in the global south. We are talking about global emission that have been linked to the operations of these guys. And then you also have them decide on what policies to advance. I mean, this is going to be for their interest. Obviously, they are here to advance their interest. They are here to expand their businesses. They don't care about what happens in Niger Delta, part of Nigeria. They don't care about what happened in Taita Taveta in Kenya. They don't care about what happened in Cameroon. All they care about is how to increase their business, how to smite the bank, how to strike deals that would further, enrich them at the expense of the frontline communities who are bearing the brunt of their operation. So we are worried about their inclusion here, and it's not even about their engagement. You see them advancing carbon market that we are struggling to understand. Why we continue to ask them to invest in renewable energy option, what they would rather do is to expand their business interests across the shore of Nigeria and, of course, Africa, with little or no regard for the environment. I mean, it's also good for us to say that they are owing us. So the climate crisis we are begging, that we are suffering right now, is as a result of their failure to stand to promises made. I mean, we are still talking about loss and damage fund. We're talking about failures in adaptation fund. We're talking about mitigation efforts that are not sufficient. And then you see them still striking deal. The other day, the spokesperson of UAE said science has failed to explain what climate change is. I mean, it's as good as we already know what the conclusion of this COP will be. But then we are committed to continue to fight, and that's why we are here.
I discussed that comment coming from Sultan Al-Jaber earlier with another climate activist, and how, that is coming from the president of COP28 itself. But I also wanted to ask you what could be done to take back the conversation from the lobbyists and the fossil fuel producers.
Well, I think three things are important. The first is Africans to refuse to be beggarly. We are talking about infractions that we are not responsible for. I mean, that's a statement of fact. If science is anything to go by, the whole of Africa is contributing less than 4%. So what we are asking from them is not charity. What we are asking from them is not a form of loan that they will want us to collect or a form of compensation that is being determined by the World Bank. What we are asking from them is commensurate reparation that addresses historical liabilities, and it is our right. So that is very, very important. But then when you see African leaders still advancing positions that suits the immediate at the expense of historical damages, then we have a problem. Secondly, when you look at the number of frontline communities represented here, they are so insignificant. How do you tell the story of the people in Niger Delta when they are not here? And then you give precedence, you give advantage to lobbyists of fossil fuel who are the one causing the problem. That's also very important. And then most important to us is the policy direction of government. Very heavily, you see government policies conveying the interest of the West. For crying out loud, in Africa, we have enough and abundant resources that we can invest in the renewable energy option, but our government is not looking in that direction. Rather, they want immediate liquidity that will help them amass wealth at the expense of the people. So we want an inclusive conversation that will put the frontline community at the cruise of discussion. Otherwise, it's going to be a business as usual, as we always have it.
And we'll see how this conversation progresses and if the adaptation needs of Africa will be addressed. Thank you so much for talking to us as always. Programs Manager Kappa Olumide Martins.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure always.